Hi, this is Sherry. Welcome to my journey in clay. Today we're going to make a bunny rabbit. We're going to use standard brown clay. It's standard 112. You can use any type of clay. You do want it to be soft though. So let's get started. To start our bunny rabbit, I have some balls of clay rolled out here. These sizes don't have to be exact, but I did want to just give you an idea. So this looks like this is about 2 inches in diameter. And then I have 6 little balls here rolled out for the hips and the hind feet and the front paws. They're all about the same size. I've made the ones for the arms just a tad bigger, but that is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and this one is about an inch in diameter. And then I rolled 2 extras over here so that I have them on hand in case something doesn't go right. So I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to start on the body first. So the body, you just sort of form it. We're going to hollow it out later because this is, going to be too thick. But to form it, what I want to do is I want to just give it a general form. So I'm blending it up here in the front. This will be the front of the rabbit to, make an indentation where his tummy goes in a little bit. And he's going to be like this. This is going to be the general, if you can tell, that's going to be the general shape that we're looking for. But it takes a little bit of work to get it into that shape. And what I'll also do is, as I'm doing this, sort of keep in mind if this is where his thighs are going to be, this is his back side, and this is the front. In the back, one of the things I like to do is sort of on either side, bring it up a little bit, creating a bit of a ridge there in the center for a spine. It doesn't have to be precise. It's really, just to give it a little more shape is all. So here we have the body shaped enough for us to get started. When I set it down, he's sort of leaning forward a little bit. This is his back. These are going to be the sides. And then this is the front. Again, we're going to hollow this out later because it's too thick, but we don't need to do that now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of these balls, the smaller ones, or the ones that were about 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to attach one on each side for the not exactly the hips, I guess the hind quarters. We're doing it for the hind quarters. This clay is very soft. I probably would not need to scratch and slip because I'm going to be doing a lot of blending, but it can never hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When I put the ball of clay on here, I'm going to smash it up a little bit because we don't want it to be round. Then once I attach them, I'm going to just blend it in around all of the edges, making a nice smooth line and keeping it rounded. It's not round, it's not going to be round like a ball, but it still is going to be a round shape. So there we have our one side. So I've smoothed both sides. This is the front, back, side. It's going to need a little more work to smooth, but we can do that later. Next thing I'm going to do is take 2 of these balls for the front, the front paws. I mean the hind, the hind paws, the hind quarters. To do this, wash my hand here a little bit because I have some little clay bits. We're going to roll this clay, leaving a little knob at the front that is going to be the front part of the paw. So I'm going to just go back and forth, leaving this little knob in the front. Don't want this too long. This one doesn't need to be too long. This happens to me a lot when I'm doing this. I guess I need to perfect my technique. But you can see I've got some lines there. But in this case, I can just smooth it out. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other piece. So now we have 2 pieces. This is about the size. And we're going to take this end piece and just round it out a little bit. We want to round it out, and we want to make sort of a, I guess maybe a teardrop shape. It needs to be higher in the middle because that's the way a bunny's paws are. Not that this is going to be exactly like a real bunny, but we do want to make sure that we give the right suggestion of a bunny. So we do that, and once we do that, we take, you can take any kind of a tool that has a sharp end. This was a wooden tool that I have that works nicely. So for each of these, I'm going to start at the top. Make sure there's no clay on the end of this. I'm going to start at the top and go down once and twice. Now, in reality, a bunny, I believe, has 4 claws on its back feet, but there's really not enough room for us to get it. So we're going to go ahead and just do 3 on each side and set it aside. And for this one, do the same thing. Again, we're going to round it out a little bit, smooth it so that it's sort of taller in the middle there. And then take our wooden tool and make our 2 marks for the paw. This needs to be up a little bit further, I think. Okay, once we have these 2, what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll scratch this. Again, the clay is soft, but doesn't hurt. Scratch, a little bit of slip, don't need too much. Not going to bother scratching the feet because it's going to attach fine. And I'm just going to push it up in here. It's going to be slightly on the bottom. Same thing on the other side. So you can see slightly on the bottom there. And then I'll turn it over and blend it in really well so that it is attached securely. Do that on both sides. I know it doesn't look like much now, but it is going to look like a bunny rabbit. So there we have our body and we have our rear paws. And the next will be the 2 front paws that we're going to do. For our front paws, we're going to do basically the same thing we did for these hindquarter paws, but we're going to make the paw part a little bit shorter. Well, rather, we're going to make the arm part a little bit longer. Let's put it that way. So when I'm rolling it, I'm going to keep that knob at the end, but I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Let's see if this is going to work here. Okay, yep. All right, so this is a little bit longer, as you can see. I'm going to take this and round it out a little bit. Gets a little bit misshapen as you're rolling. Again, shape it in the front here. Okay. And then take our wooden tool. Same thing. We're going to do 2 marks to note the paw. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. So now I have my 2 paws here. This one looks a little bit bigger than that one, so I'm going to just take some of this clay and move it up a little bit. Okay, we're going to take the paw and sort of push it out a little bit, bend it. Same with this one. So by bend it, I mean I want the paw to go like this, not like this. I'm going to check it out, see if they fit over here. Move that leg a little bit. Okay, so you can see that they fit. So what we'll do is, I'll just go ahead and scratch right here. Little bit of slip. And I'll take these 2 and just start blending them in. Okay, it's starting to look more like a bunny rabbit. We're going to be giving it some texture, and also we're going to be changing this neckline a little bit too. Don't worry about how funky it looks up here, because we're gonna fix that when we do the bunny's head. I'm going to turn it around so I can take a look too. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and at this point I would go ahead and I would start hollowing out some of the bottom part here. So to hollow it out, I just take a tool. This particular tool I have has a bend to it, so I'll just take that and just start carving away. Generally speaking, what you don't want is you don't want anything more than 1 inch thick when you're firing. And the reason for that is because you want it to obviously be dry when you're firing it, and you want it to dry as evenly as possible. And if you have things over 1 inch thick, then your chances for having it crack or break are much better, and it will dry a lot better. So just work on this a little bit and hollow it out. It doesn't have to be totally hollow, but you want to get as much as you can get out without misshaping it. You can see by the amount I have taken out, it's really not all that much. So this is the amount that I've actually removed, which is not a huge amount. Get one more in here. And then the other thing I will do after I've removed as much clay as I can is I will take my pen tool and go all the way up, and then that's extra assurance that it's going to be drying evenly. We have our body, now on to the head. For the head, I have just a couple pieces rolled out here. I'll just dry my hands off here. This is going to be our head. This, let's check it out. About 1 1/8 inches. You can sort of hold it up to your rabbit to see, okay, is this going to be too big, too small? So you can do that to kind of get an idea. And then I have 2 little balls rolled for the muzzle and 1 for the nose, and then the other ones will form as we go. So for the rabbit's head, you want to make it sort of football shaped. Sort of football shaped. Actually, it's a little pointed, obviously, towards the well, maybe not obviously, but once you start making it, you'll see obviously towards the front. So we have formed this. Okay. So here we go. This is the piece that I have. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this little muzzle on the front. So on the front, the narrower front, I'm going to scratch just a little bit of slip so it doesn't get too messy. Then I'm going to take these two, just checking the size. This looks like a tiny bit too big. Roll that again. Okay, so I'm going to put these two together. You don't have to do it that way. You can do them one at a time. I just happen to do them together here. And push them up against the muzzle. Well, they are the muzzle. Push them up against the head. Let me rephrase that. And then you want to blend it in all around the sides and the bottom for both of them. Don't worry too much about the middle part here. That should be separate because that's what a muzzle looks like. But the top, you can blend in the top. Don't worry about this little section in the middle because we're going to put a nose there. Keeping it rounded. Okay. Whoops. Got to do a little more on the bottom here. Alrighty. So we have that, and then I'm going to do the nose next. I'm not going to scratch, but I'm just going to put a little slip. I could scratch. I would scratch with my pin tool though so that I don't over scratch it. And then this nose is I think a tad too big. So make it a little smaller. You can do round or you can do oblong, you know, whichever way you want your bunny to have his nose or her nose. So just push that in and blend it in a little bit at the top here. A little around the sides and on the top. Let me take a look. Okay, so that is what we have so far. And the next piece will be a bottom lip. So for this, I'm going to take some of my soft clay. And this is a little wide, but I think that's a little bit too big. Let me make it a little smaller. All right, so there's the size of the ball that I have, which is probably less than 1/4 inch. And then you just want to roll that into a coil, being narrower at each of the sides. And I'm not going to scratch this because I don't think I need to, and I don't want my scratch marks to show. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right under the muzzle. This is going to be his lip, and then I'm going to blend it in here at the bottom. So it's a little bit fat, but this is a fat-lipped bunny, I guess. There, we've got you can see the side view, front view. Now the next thing I would do is to give him some jowls. He needs some cheeks here. So I'm going to make 2 little balls. These don't have to be, these can be various sizes, but they definitely you don't want them too big. This is a little too big. So for this, take a look at your bunny. I'm going to turn him around, and we want one like a little bit towards the back. And I'll use a little bit of slip here. Put one here and one here. I have a hard time sometimes getting these even. Okay, so this is what it looks like before I start blending it in. Now the thing to be careful of while you're blending in is to hold it very gently because it's really easy to be concentrating on your blending and then to squish the head or squish the lips or, you know, do something to distort the piece. It's very easy to do. So keep holding it gently the whole time. Keep that in mind. I'm going to get my other side here. And then once I do my other side, we're going to do the eyes. All right, we are ready for the eyes. Let me just show you what he looks like now, though. Front, side, bottom. So now we're going to do the eyes. For the eyes, first thing to do, the eyes will be on the side of the face. So I'm going to, let's see, let's use this tool. I'm just going to make indentations where the eyes will be. And I've made these eyes, you know, like sometimes they're kind of a little more forward, other times they're a little more backward. So you don't have to worry too much. It gives them a little personality. So I've made some indentations. Now for the eyes, we'll do one eye at a time here. I'm going to take a little bit of clay, a very little bit, and I'm going to roll it into a coil, narrow at each end, but very small. So this is how small this coil is. And that's going to be our eyelid on the bottom and the top. So I'm going to do this on my right, this eye first. Put a little bit, I'm not going to scratch, but I'm just going to put some slip around. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this around the eye. So I'm going to place it like this. And then I'm just going to take this and roll it around. Okay. It looks a little weird. It looks a little weird right now, but it's going to be okay. So I want to just gently push this down. And then once I gently push it down, I'm going to, and this is a really delicate part here. It's kind of difficult to do, but you want to just blend it in. And again, it's a little bit, it's difficult. It takes a really soft touch to do that, but that's what you want to do. You want to blend it in all around. Let's see, yeah, let me get a little bit more on the bottom here. If it's not perfect, it should still be okay, because once it gets fired and you know, that, because there's texture to it and because it's not a you know, an actual lifelike sculpture of a rabbit, yeah, you do have a little bit of leeway. So this is what I've done for this eye, and now I'm just going to take a little tiny piece of clay, again, tiny. Actually, I'm going to roll 2 eyes at a time here so that I can make sure that they're going to be even. Okay. And then I'm going to put slip, a little bit of slip in here, and then I'm going to place the eyeball inside. Not flattening it too much. So there we have one eyeball. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I've been turning the camera off while I do some of this so that, you know, keep it from being too boring. But maybe I will just keep it on while I do the other side of this eye, because it is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to roll my skinny little eyelids. And it'll take a little bit of time to see, you know, the right size. This looks like, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inches, maybe a little under. I'm going to trim a little bit off because I think that's a little too long. And again, I'm not going to scratch. I'm just going to put the slip around the socket. I'm going to, doesn't matter if you start at the bottom or the top, but I start at the front with this little pointed piece, and then bring this carefully around. Until I get to the front. And this piece is a little bit too long, so I'm going to have to cut it carefully, very carefully. Okay. Same thing, gently push it down to secure it, and then go all the way around, blending it in. And then once it's all blended in, put that other eyeball in. I'll go ahead and try to blend this fairly quickly. Might have to come back and do a little clean up here. Okay, I'm gonna just sort of, there, even that up a bit. And okay, it needs a little bit more. Put a little bit of slip in the eyeball. All right, and there we have two eyes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that my pen tool is clean, and I'm going to go to the muzzle and just make a couple little pin pricks to give a suggestion of, you know, of whiskers. There's no particular number here. I try to do an uneven number. I don't know why, just because. All right, there's our head. Now for the fun part, the attaching it and then the ears. We're ready to attach the head and make the ears. First thing I'm going to do is I put this on a little piece of wood here so that I can move it around a little bit better. I'm going to take the head and just sort of see if it matches, which it does, but obviously it's a little bit high here. So I'm going to cut this neck down a little. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I think I like that. Make it just down a little so that his head can go up a little. All right, for the head then, I'm just going to scratch the bottom, scratch the neck. And let me just say that, you know, people have different ways of doing things. There's other ways that this could be attached. This is just the way that I've found that you know, that works for me. So I'm going to just gently, without smashing his head, try to put him so with his face looking up a little bit. Maybe I'll cock to the side a little bit. And then what I'll do, instead of trying to smooth this or blend it, I'm just going to take a little coil of clay. I'll start with a small piece so that I don't overdo things. Put it in there. I'm going to put some in the front too. Just a skinny little coil. And I'm going to take my tool, make sure it's cleaned off, and just gently put it in there, in between the head and the neck. It's going to take a minute. So I'll do this with the tool first, and then once I do it with the tool is going to push it in to that crevice to make sure that it's, you know, that it's really in there. And then I'll take my hand and just smooth it off. Also, one thing that we will also be doing to this bunny rabbit is giving it some texture, some fur. So that's going to hide some stuff too. All right. Now, at this point, we could make the ears. However, I find it easier to give it the texture first. Now, I've tried different ways of making the texture. You can kind of see what works for you the best. I tried, at one point, I tried a scratching tool, but the scratching tool I thought left too many little clay crumbles all over the place, and I didn't really care for the look. I have tried this tool, you know, just going down like this, little bits of fur, and this is okay. Does leave a few crumbles. And then I've also tried this. This is the one that I've ended up with, but you can see, you know, as I said, what works the best for you. So I'll just give this a few. I might come back and do some more, but let me at least get the back. And I like to do short, feathery strokes rather than long ones. And I like to, as much as possible, push it in rather than pull and drag, because when you, as much as possible, you can't do it completely, but the more you can push it in, the less likely you are to have all those little sharp edges. I'll put some on this front just a little bit. As I said, I might come back and do a little bit more, but this should be good for now. Okay, and do need to blend this in a little bit more on the head, on the eyeball. Just trying to just make sure I don't make things too long on the video, to tell you the truth. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, so he's almost ready. He's been hollowed out. We have the legs, the hind legs, we got the front legs, and his head is in place. I like him. I like the way he looks. He's going to need a bunny tail. Sometimes, I'm going to go ahead and put that on so I don't forget it. Sometimes if I have some white clay, I will use white clay for the bunny tail instead of using this regular clay. If I use this clay, then however I decide to glaze the rabbit, I will put some white underglaze on the bunny tail. Nothing but a little ball at the end, a little bunny tail. Okay, so now we have the ears. For the ears, I have 2 balls of clay here. Let's see, they are about 1 inch in diameter. For each of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my hand, making a roll, and then going to make it about, I don't know, about how long it is, 2 or 3. It's got to be more than 2 inches, maybe 3 inches. Let's see, that's not good enough yet. So we're going to make it, we're going to roll this in a coil, but we're going to make it narrow at the end for the tip of the rabbit ear. Okay, that's long enough. Let's see how long that is. Yep, it's about 3 inches. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. This one's a little bit more, little narrower at the top than I like, but it'll work. I'll just have to make the other one sort of matching it is all. It's also, it's a little lumpy, but that's okay too. Now, let me make sure this is smooth at the end. Now this is the tool that I always use for the ears. It's a wooden tool so that it doesn't stick to the clay. It's got a pointed end. You could find something else to use. I don't have any suggestion off the top of my head, but this is what I use. So I will take this tool, make sure that this is smooth, the top, push it down in, and then roll it around a little bit. so that we have this. And then I'll bend this a little to make it rounded. So that's one ear. And here we have ear number 2. Same thing. And then again, just sort of pinch it together to make it rounded. Now when we go to attach the ears, this is another tricky part. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can have the ears down like this. Well, not exactly like that because they're not attached, but down like that. If you do the ears down, that actually is the safest way, because when you attach it, you can kind of have it touching its back, and that is going to secure it, and it's much less likely that they're going to break off. Or you can attach them so that they are sticking up. And I really like them. I like them both ways. It depends on where the rabbit's going to be. Is it going to be on a jar? Is it going to be on a box that I've made? Is it just going to be separate? So it really kind of depends. For the demonstration though, we'll just go ahead and we'll make ears up. So for the ears up, we want to scratch at the back of the head here, both sides. And then we also want to scratch the bottom of the ear. And definitely use some slip. So we're going to start, I'll turn it around so you can see, with the slip here, and then just attach to the head. So I'm gently holding the head, and now I'm taking my thumb and blending this back clay into the head. Now, I also like to give a little bit of character to the bunny, so I like to, I like to make the ears maybe go off to the side, or, something a little different. So that's good for this ear. And then we'll take this one. Same thing. Gently, 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 and smear it into the back of the head. Okay, now I can't see the front, so I'm going to have to turn them around and make sure it's how I like it. But before I do that, I want to tell you, since this is, these ears are the weak point of this rabbit. So often what I will do is I will take a piece of clay, either one ear or both ears. It depends on, on how secure they're looking. And I will just make a little support while it's drying. So I'll put the clay here, and I'll take this clay and just touch it. And then that way I know that the ear, I'm going to get another piece for the other side. That way I know that the ear has support while it's drying. Then I'll be careful when I fire it. Once it's bisque fired, then, it's pretty safe. But I'll do that while it's drying. So let me turn it around and see if I'm happy with his ears. Well, they're going forward just a little. I want to bend this a little bit. Make sure that one is not going forward too much. Okay, there we go. I'm happier with that. So there we have our rabbit. I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial on making a little bunny rabbit. I wanted to end by showing you a couple things. One, I wanted to show you a rabbit with the ears down. This is one I made just to be on top of this little jar. It hasn't been fired yet. And you can see I did the forearms a little bit different. I made them longer because I wanted them on top of this little ball. I don't really know why. I just wanted to do it that way. So that was one thing. Show you how the ears are different. The second thing I want to tell you is that, you know, as you're making a rabbit, things might not work out the first time you make them, but you will learn from that. And I want to show you two that I made earlier that, well, one is really not very good. The other's not too bad, but I glazed it incorrectly. So this one I made, arms way, way too skinny, legs way, way too skinny, head looks like a donkey rather than a rabbit, eyes are a little crooked, but that part doesn't bother me. All the rest of it does. So I just want to let you know, you know, you do it a couple times. Secondly, this is a little tiny rabbit that I did. So I was really not expecting it to be perfect because it's very small. The hands are tiny. But I show you this because I glazed it with a clear glaze. And by, well, actually, this is a matte glaze, not a clear glaze. But either way, it can be too thick and hide all of the details of the rabbit. So this one I glazed with oxide, putting oxide on top of it and then a clear, and that turned out okay. You can also just use an oxide and not bother with any glazes. You can, or possibly just use underglaze. You can do that too. So hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.